My name is Austin Rivers. I'm 42 years old, and I live just outside Denver, Colorado. For the past 15 years, I've worked in logistics management at Rocky Mountain Transport, coordinating supply chains, optimizing delivery routes, and making sure thousands of shipments reach their destinations on time. It's methodical work that teaches you to think 3 steps ahead, to spot problems before they become disasters, and to always have a backup plan. Those skills, it turns out, apply to more than just freight scheduling. I was married to Sophia for almost 9 years. We met in 2016 at a company barbecue where her insurance firm was networking with local businesses. She was 28 then, working as an accountant and complaining about how boring her job was. I thought she was smart, ambitious, and looking for something real. We built what I thought was a solid life together in a cramped studio apartment near the warehouse district in Thornton. The place was cheap because of the noise from the industrial operations next door. Freight trains at all hours, loading dock operations starting at 5 a.m., the constant rumble of 18-wheelers navigating the narrow streets. But we made it work. Our combined income was maybe $78,000 on a good year, enough to cover rent, groceries, and the occasional dinner out, but not much else. Sophia always talked about wanting more, a house with actual rooms instead of one space that served as bedroom, living room, and dining area. Vacations to places that weren't camping in the Rockies because it was free. Maybe starting a family once we had some financial breathing room. I believed we were working toward those goals together. I held on to those conversations like they were shipping manifests for a better future. I was wrong about a lot of things back then. Everything changed on March 14th, 2024, when I got the call that my Uncle Roger had died suddenly of a heart attack. Roger Rivers owned a warehouse property in downtown Denver that he'd bought in the 1980s when the area was nothing but abandoned buildings and urban decay. He was my father's younger brother, never married, lived alone in a small apartment above his business. He was the kind of guy who fixed everything himself, trusted nobody with his finances, and kept detailed records of every penny he'd ever earned. I was genuinely grieving the loss of the one family member who'd ever given me solid advice. "Don't trust people just because they sleep next to you," he'd told me once during a Christmas dinner when Sophia was in the bathroom. I figured he was just bitter about being single his whole life, maybe a little jealous of what Sophia and I had built together. The funeral was small. Roger didn't have many friends left, and I was one of only 6 people who showed up to the service. Sophia came with me, wearing a black dress she'd borrowed from her sister, holding my hand during the eulogy I gave about a man who'd taught me that hard work and careful planning could overcome almost any obstacle. 2 weeks later, Roger's attorney called with news that changed everything. The warehouse property had been appraised at $8.2 million. The downtown area had exploded with development over the past 5 years, and commercial real estate values had gone through the roof. Roger's old storage facility was now sitting on prime development land, and there was already interest from major construction companies looking to build luxury condominiums and office complexes. I sat in my truck in the parking lot of Rocky Mountain Transport, staring at the legal documents the attorney had emailed me, reading the same numbers over and over. $8.2 million. After taxes and probate fees, I was looking at roughly $6.5 million in liquid assets once the sale went through. More money than I'd ever imagined having in my entire lifetime. My hands were shaking when I called Sophia. "You're not going to believe this," I said, my voice cracking with excitement. "Roger's warehouse. It's worth over $8 million. We're inheriting everything." She screamed. She cried. She said all the right things about how sorry she was for my loss and how incredible this opportunity was for us. "We're finally free, Austin," she kept saying. "We can have everything we've always wanted. We can start over, build the life we've been dreaming about." If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and strategic victories, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new stories here every day, each one more satisfying than the last. For about 2 weeks, everything felt perfect. Sophia made lists of houses we could afford, started researching neighborhoods with good schools for the kids we might have someday. She bought real estate magazines and spread them across our tiny kitchen table, circling properties and calculating mortgage payments we could easily afford. We talked about paying off all our debt, maybe taking that European vacation she'd always dreamed about, possibly starting the family we'd been putting off for financial reasons. But then something shifted. It was subtle at first, like a shipment that shows up a day late with no explanation. Nothing dramatic, just a deviation from the expected pattern that makes you pay closer attention to the tracking information. Sophia stopped engaging when I talked about our plans. I'd bring up properties we could look at, and she'd just nod absently, scrolling through her phone with a distant expression. "Whatever you think is best," she'd say, distracted. The phone became her constant companion. She took it everywhere, even to the bathroom, and the screen was always angled away from me. When I asked about it casually, she said her company had implemented new security protocols for handling sensitive financial data. "It's all about HIPAA compliance now," she explained, though I couldn't figure out why an insurance company would need medical privacy protections. "They're tracking everything we access, monitoring all our communications. I have to be careful." Then came the work trips. Sophia had never traveled for her job before. The insurance company she worked for was small and local, barely big enough to have a proper IT department, let alone a training budget for out-of-state conferences. But suddenly, starting in April, there were seminars she absolutely had to attend. Denver, Colorado Springs, even one to Albuquerque that required an overnight stay. Always last minute, always vague about the details. "It's continuing education for new accounting software," she explained one Thursday evening in late April, throwing clothes into a duffel bag I'd never seen before. Expensive-looking black leather with brass hardware that definitely hadn't come from Target. "The company is covering everything. I have to go, Austin. It's mandatory." I watched her pack. Watched the way she carefully folded a black dress that definitely wasn't something she'd wear to an accounting seminar. Watched her slip a new tube of expensive lipstick into her makeup bag, along with perfume I didn't recognize. She kissed me goodbye at the door, but it felt like kissing a stranger, distant, perfunctory, like she was already mentally somewhere else. When she came back from that third trip, something was different in her eyes, a kind of distance that hadn't been there before. Even during our hardest financial years, when we'd fought about bills and worried about making rent. She moved through our apartment like she was already planning her exit strategy, touching things with the detachment of someone cataloging what they'd take and what they'd leave behind. Then one morning in early May, I woke up and she was gone. No argument, no dramatic scene, just gone. There was a note on the kitchen counter, written on a sticky note in her careful handwriting. "I need space to think about our future. Don't try to contact me for a while." Half her clothes were missing, her toiletries, the framed photo of her parents she kept on her nightstand. But she'd left behind everything we'd accumulated together, the cheap furniture from secondhand stores, the dishes we'd bought at Walmart when we first moved in together, the life we'd supposedly been building piece by piece over 9 years. I stood in that quiet apartment, note in hand, and I wasn't surprised. Not really, because by then, I already knew what was happening. The truth is, I'd seen it coming for weeks. When you spend 15 years managing logistics, you learn to pay attention to patterns, to notice when delivery schedules don't match up with manifests, when tracking numbers lead nowhere. I'd started monitoring her behavior like a shipment that was running behind schedule. The new clothes appearing in her closet, designer labels that definitely hadn't come from the discount stores we usually shopped at. The way she'd smile at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Not the smile she used to give me when we'd text during work breaks, but something secret and excited, like she was unwrapping a present she'd bought for herself. The expensive perfume that replaced her usual drugstore brand. The new lingerie I'd glimpsed in the laundry basket. Black lace things that definitely weren't for my benefit, since our intimate life had basically evaporated over the past month. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I'm not ashamed either. In logistics, when something doesn't add up, you dig deeper until you find the discrepancy. I started investigating. I checked our phone bill online and found one number she'd been texting constantly. Hundreds of messages starting back in March, right after we got news about the inheritance. The timing wasn't coincidental. A reverse search led me to Cameron Blake, 38, a real estate agent working for premier Denver properties. His LinkedIn profile showed he specialized in commercial real estate development. Exactly the kind of guy who'd know how to evaluate the value of inherited property. His Facebook was full of pictures from networking events, including several from a March conference that Sophia had supposedly attended for work. I scrolled through his photos with the methodical patience I'd learned from tracking down missing shipments. There he was at a hotel bar, raising a glass of champagne. There he was at a poolside cocktail reception, wearing the kind of expensive suit that real estate agents use to project success. And there, in the background of a group shot from the conference welcome mixer, was Sophia. She'd never mentioned him, not once in all our conversations about her boring seminars and mandatory training sessions. That's when I knew for certain this wasn't just emotional distance or a midlife crisis. This was calculated betrayal with a specific financial target painted on it. But here's the thing about managing supply chains for 15 years. You learn that the worst thing you can do when you spot a problem is panic. You don't just start rerouting trucks randomly or calling clients to explain delays you haven't confirmed yet. You assess the situation, you plan your response, and you make sure you understand the full scope of the issue before you make your move. So, I didn't confront Sophia. I didn't demand explanations or throw accusations around like damaged freight. I played it calm and started building my defense strategy. The inheritance money was still tied up in probate, but Roger's attorney had warned me that Colorado was an equitable distribution state. If Sophia filed for divorce, she could potentially claim half of everything, including inherited assets acquired during marriage. That possibility had seemed academic when he'd first mentioned it. Now it felt like a freight train bearing down on me at full speed. That's when I called Paul Henderson, a family law attorney in Denver who specialized in asset protection. I found him through an online forum for people who'd received sudden windfalls, lottery winners, inheritance recipients, injury settlement cases. Yes, that's a real thing, and the advice there probably saved my financial future. I need to protect an inheritance, I told him during our first phone call in mid-May. I was sitting in my truck outside a Home Depot, speaking quietly, even though no one was around. My wife left me, and I'm almost certain she's planning to come back with divorce papers and a claim on assets that should be mine alone. Paul Henderson had the kind of voice that suggested he'd handled this exact situation before. No wasted sympathy, no unnecessary questions, just straight to the practical details. How much are we talking about? $8.2 million before taxes, probably $6.5 million liquid after probate. There was a pause that lasted exactly long enough for him to process the magnitude of what was at stake. When did your uncle die? March 14th. The probate should be complete within the next month. And you've been married how long? Almost 9 years. Colorado law is tricky, he said, and I could hear him typing in the background. Inherited assets are generally considered separate property, but if they're commingled with marital assets or if your spouse contributed to their maintenance or improvement, she could have a claim. We need to establish a clean separation before any money changes hands. What do you recommend? We create a legal barrier that's absolutely bulletproof, and we need to do it before the inheritance clears probate. Over the next 3 weeks, Paul and I worked through every detail like we were designing a shipping route through hostile territory. We created a Delaware LLC called Rivers Asset Management before the probate was finalized. Delaware apparently has the strongest corporate protection laws in the country, the legal equivalent of an armored truck for valuable cargo. The fees ran about $4,500 between filing costs and legal work. But that was nothing compared to what I stood to lose. Paul walked me through the structure like he was explaining a complex routing system. The LLC would own the inheritance, not me personally, and definitely not me jointly with Sophia. If she filed for divorce, there would be no marital asset to divide because the money would belong to a business entity that she had no stake in whatsoever. Think of it like this, Paul explained during one of our planning sessions. You can't claim half of General Motors just because your ex-husband owns some stock. The LLC is a separate legal entity, and you control it completely. When the inheritance finally cleared probate in mid-June, the proceeds went directly to Rivers Asset Management, not to Austin Rivers the individual, and definitely not to any account Sophia could access. I structured the whole thing like a secure shipping container, locked, sealed, and requiring specific authorization codes that only I possessed. Meanwhile, I said nothing to anyone about the legal maneuvering. I went to work every day, managed my routes and schedules, and acted like everything was normal. When coworkers asked about Sophia, I said she was dealing with family issues and needed some space. When they asked about Roger's property, I said the estate was still being settled, and I didn't know the details yet. Radio silence, complete operational security, and I could feel it driving her crazy from a distance. I found out about Sophia's real plan the hard way. She'd been careless with our shared laptop one evening in late May, back when she was still pretending our separation was temporary and she needed to pick up some clothes. Her Gmail was logged in when I opened it to check my own email, and curiosity got the better of my professional discretion. The subject line caught my attention immediately. Confirmation, Marriott Denver Tech Center, extended stay package. I clicked it with the same methodical precision I used to track delayed shipments. Hotel reservation for 2 people. Checking in June 20th, checking out July 15th. 4 weeks in a presidential suite. Total cost, $8,400 charged to a credit card I didn't recognize. I scrolled through her other emails with growing clarity about what I was looking at. Flight confirmations to Las Vegas, research about Nevada divorce laws. Apparently, you can establish residency there in just 6 weeks and file for same-day divorce proceedings with minimal waiting periods. She'd been planning this since March, probably within days of learning about the inheritance. The timeline was crystal clear. Wait for Austin to get distracted with the money and the grief. Quietly establish Nevada residency with Cameron, file for divorce, and claim half of everything before he knows what's happening. Except, there was nothing left to claim. I'd made sure of that. I took screenshots of everything and forwarded them to Paul with a brief message. Found this. Looks like the timeline is accelerating. His response came back within an hour. Perfect. She just documented her own premeditation and intent to defraud. Don't delete anything, and whatever you do, don't let her know you've seen this. I cleared the browser history with the same attention to detail I used to update shipping manifests, then went back to watching the Rockies game like nothing had happened. When Sophia emerged from the bedroom 20 minutes later to grab the rest of her things, I was eating leftover pizza and complaining about the bullpen's latest meltdown. "You okay?" she asked, leaning against the doorway with a duffel bag in her hand. "Yeah, just tired. Long week coordinating the regional deliveries." She nodded, didn't come closer, didn't kiss me goodbye this time, just headed for the door like she was leaving for another business trip. That was one of our last real conversations as a married couple. The morning Sophia left for good was a Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. I know the exact date because I'd taken a personal day, told my supervisor I had a medical appointment. I wanted to see exactly how she'd handle her final exit, whether she'd have the courage to explain herself or just disappear like a lost shipment. I pretended to be asleep when she got up at dawn. I heard her move quietly through the apartment, gathering the last of her things with the efficiency of someone who'd been mentally cataloging her possessions for weeks. Heard the zipper of her suitcase, the jingle of her car keys, then the front door opening and closing, with a soft click that seemed to echo through the entire building. I got up and found the note she'd left on the kitchen counter, photographed it from multiple angles with the same documentation standards I used for damaged cargo, then placed it in a document sleeve for Paul. Evidence was everything now. Every text message, every email, every piece of documentation that could prove intent and premeditation. The apartment felt different without her. Emptier, yes, but also cleaner somehow. Like a contaminated shipping container that had finally been removed from the warehouse floor, allowing normal operations to resume. I made coffee, sat at our small kitchen table, and waited. In logistics, you learn that most problems announce themselves eventually. You just have to be patient and pay attention to the tracking information. I knew exactly what was coming next. It took exactly 2 weeks. The first email arrived on June 11th, sent from an address I didn't recognize. "Austin, I hope you've had time to process everything. I think we should talk about moving forward with our lives separately. There are financial matters we need to discuss regarding Roger's inheritance." Financial matters, not our marriage, not our feelings, not the 9 years we'd spent building something together. Just business, just the bottom line she'd been calculating since March. I didn't respond. In my experience, silence often generates more useful information than questions do. 3 more emails over the next week, each one slightly more demanding, slightly more explicit about what she wanted, then a text message that cut straight to the heart of the matter. "My lawyer says I'm entitled to half the inheritance under Colorado law. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, but I'm not going away empty-handed." There it was, the truth crawling out of its hole and showing its teeth. No more pretense about needing space or figuring out her feelings. just the mathematical reality she'd been working towards since the day Roger died. I forwarded the text to Paul. His response was immediate and satisfying. Excellent. She's confessing to attempted fraud in writing. Let her keep talking. She did. Over the following weeks, the messages escalated like a shipment that kept getting rerouted through increasingly desperate channels. Angry voicemails where I could hear Cameron's voice in the background, coaching her through what sounded like carefully rehearsed talking points. Tell him you'll make this public. Tell him you'll drag it through the courts for years. Tell him you know people in the insurance industry who can make his life difficult. One message particularly stood out. I know you got the inheritance money, Austin. I called Roger's lawyer myself. You're hiding marital assets, and that's illegal in Colorado. My attorney says we can force you to disclose everything and prove where every penny went. Her attorney. She'd actually hired someone, probably burning through money she didn't have while expecting a huge payday that would never materialize. I almost felt sorry for whatever lawyer had taken her case based on her version of the story. I continued my radio silent strategy, complete blackout, and I could feel it driving her crazy from 2 states away, which was honestly more satisfying than I'd expected. Meanwhile, I was building my new life, like constructing a logistics network from scratch. I bought a small ranch-style house on 5 acres in Longmont, about 30 minutes north of Denver. It needed work. The roof was original 1960s composition. Shingles, the plumbing was copper that had seen better decades, and the barn out back was more rust than structure, but it had potential. More importantly, it had something our cramped studio apartment never did. Space to breathe, space to think, space to build something meaningful. The asking price was $420,000. I paid cash through Rivers Asset Management and closed in 10 days. The deed listed the LLC as the owner. Sophia's name never appeared on any document, never had any legal connection to the property whatsoever. I also started working on an idea I'd been carrying around for years, a logistics training program for young people aging out of the foster care system. Kids who needed practical skills and steady employment, but had fallen through the cracks of traditional education systems. In my 15 years at Rocky Mountain Transport, I'd seen too many good people stuck in dead-end warehouse jobs because nobody ever taught them how the industry actually worked, how to read shipping manifests, how to coordinate multimodal transportation, how to use the software that runs modern supply chains. I leased a small warehouse space in Commerce City, about 20 minutes from my new house, and hired 2 instructors, retired transportation managers who still had their commercial driver's licenses and training certifications. Randy Cooper, who'd spent 30 years managing freight for UPS, and Danny Torres Sr., who'd built his own small trucking company from nothing before selling it to concentrate on teaching. We started with 12 students, teaching everything from inventory management to route optimization. The program wasn't about the money. The money was just a tool that gave me the freedom to finally do something that mattered. Sophia never understood that about me. She thought inheriting millions was about buying status symbols and luxury vacations. She didn't get that for me. It represented independence. The independence to build something real instead of just managing other people's cargo for the rest of my working life. By August, the training center was operational. I worked alongside the students most days, still wearing my old work boots and safety vests, still getting my hands dirty loading and unloading practice shipments. I was happier than I'd been in years. And then Sophia's lawyer called. His name was Kenneth Walsh, and he sounded exhausted before the conversation even started. Mr. Rivers, this is Kenneth Walsh from Walsh & Associates here in Denver. I represent Sophia Rivers in her divorce proceedings. I'm calling as a professional courtesy before we file formal paperwork. Okay, I said. I was in my truck parked outside the training center, and I put the call on speaker so I could take notes. It was August 15th, exactly 3 months since Sophia had walked out. Your wife is seeking dissolution of marriage and equitable division of assets, specifically the inheritance you received from your uncle's estate. Our understanding is that you inherited approximately $8 million, which, under Colorado law, would be subject to equitable distribution, regardless of its source. Mr. Walsh, I interrupted, keeping my voice level and professional. Before you go any further, you should speak with my attorney, Paul Henderson, out of Denver. I think you'll find the situation isn't what your client described to you. There was a pause that lasted exactly long enough for him to wonder what he'd missed in his initial case evaluation. Your attorney? Yes. Paul Henderson with Henderson and Associates. I'll text you his information right now. He'll explain the asset structure and provide all necessary documentation. But, to save you some time and effort, there are no marital assets to divide. The inheritance was assigned to a business entity as separate property before any distributions were made. Everything was done legally and is fully documented. Another pause, longer this time. I could practically hear him reevaluating the entire case, wondering what Sophia had failed to mention about the timeline and structure of the inheritance. I see. Well, we'll certainly reach out to Mr. Henderson, but I should inform you that attempts to conceal or improperly transfer marital assets are taken very seriously by Colorado courts. If there's been any improper... I haven't concealed anything, I said calmly. I protected my separate property using legitimate legal structures that were established before any inheritance funds were distributed. There's a significant difference. Mr. Henderson will provide all the documentation you need to verify everything was done properly. I hung up and immediately called Paul. Kenneth Walsh just contacted me. How bad is this going to be for them? Catastrophic, Paul said, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. I just reviewed their initial filing. They're claiming entitlement to assets owned by a legally formed business entity that their client has no stake in whatsoever. It's like demanding half of General Motors because your ex-husband bought some stock with money he earned during the marriage. He was right. Over the next 8 weeks, I watched Sophia's case disintegrate like a poorly planned shipping route, hitting every possible delay and obstacle. Walsh filed the divorce petition on August 22nd, along with a motion to include the LLC assets as marital property subject to equitable distribution. Paul responded with a 40-page brief, complete with corporate documents, financial records, and legal precedents supporting the separation of inherited assets. He included screenshots of Sophia's emails and text messages, showing she'd abandoned the marriage voluntarily and was attempting to claim money she knew had been legally structured as separate property. The brief read like a shipping manifest for her destruction, each piece of evidence cataloged and cross-referenced with devastating precision. The judge wasn't impressed with Walsh's arguments. At a preliminary hearing in October, which I attended in person wearing my best suit, Sophia sat 2 rows behind her attorney, looking smaller and more desperate than I remembered. Cameron wasn't with her. I noticed that immediately and filed it away as significant information. Judge Monica Stevens, a sharp woman in her mid-50s with steel-gray hair and no patience for legal fishing expeditions, reviewed the documents and asked Walsh pointed questions that made him squirm like a shipping clerk, trying to explain missing inventory. Counselor, are you arguing that your client is entitled to assets held by a legally formed business entity that she has no ownership interest in? Your Honor, we believe the LLC was formed for the specific purpose of concealing marital assets from equitable distribution. And what evidence do you have of that other than your client's assertion and suspicious timing? Walsh hesitated like a truck driver who just realized he'd taken the wrong exit. The timing, Your Honor. The LLC was formed just before the inheritance distribution, which suggests intent to defraud. But after the inheritance was legally established through probate and before any money changed hands, correct? Yes, Your Honor, but we believe, and this business entity has legitimate ongoing operations, Paul interjected, standing with the confidence of someone whose paperwork was bulletproof. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Rivers operates an active vocational training facility through Rivers Asset Management, generating independent revenue and serving valid business purposes beyond asset protection. The LLC owns real property, employs instructors, and provides educational services to at-risk youth. Judge Stevens nodded curtly. I'm going to be direct, Mr. Walsh. This appears to be a properly structured business entity being used for legitimate purposes. If your client's position is that she's entitled to inheritance proceeds simply because they were received during marriage, you'll need substantially more than suspicious timing to convince this court to pierce a valid corporate structure. She paused, looking directly at Sophia. Motion denied. We'll proceed with divorce under standard terms, but the LLC assets are not marital property subject to division. I saw Sophia's shoulders slump, saw her lean over to whisper something urgent to Walsh, probably asking if there was any appeal option or alternative strategy. He shook his head grimly, and I knew it was over. The divorce was finalized on December 18th, 2024. No contest, no drama, no courtroom theatrics. Sophia signed the papers through her attorney without appearing in person. I never saw her again after that October hearing. The settlement was straightforward. We each kept what was in our individual names, split the furniture from our old apartment 50-50, and went our separate ways. She got her car, a 2015 Honda Accord with 90,000 miles, and a transmission that slipped in cold weather. I got my truck, a 2020 Ford F-250, with 35,000 miles and a payload capacity that could handle anything I needed to move. We had no shared debt by that point. I'd quietly paid everything off months earlier through the LLC, including her $31,000 in student loans, though she never knew that. I wanted a completely clean break, no financial threads connecting us that she could try to manipulate later. Cameron, it turned out, had disappeared from Sophia's life even faster than he'd entered it. I learned this from Randy Cooper during a December conversation at the training center. Randy still had connections throughout the Denver business community, and news travels fast in logistics circles. "Hey, you hear about that real estate guy, Cameron Blake?" Randy asked while we were reviewing student progress reports. I played dumb. "Name sounds familiar. Why?" "Got fired from Premier Denver Properties in September. Turns out he was using company resources for personal deals, charging client meetings to properties he was trying to flip on the side. Lost his license and probably faces criminal charges for fraud." I nodded like it was mildly interesting gossip, but inside I felt something click into place. The universe has a way of balancing the books, especially when people get too greedy and careless about covering their tracks. "He was seeing someone, I think," Randy continued. "Some woman who dumped him when the job situation went south. Can't blame her, really. Who wants to date a guy facing ethics violations and potential jail time?" I didn't tell Randy that the woman was my ex-wife. It didn't seem worth mentioning. By spring of 2025, the training center was thriving beyond my initial projections. We'd expanded to 36 students and added a commercial driving program in partnership with local trucking companies. 3 of our first graduates had landed positions with major shipping companies, making $55,000 a year with full benefits and clear advancement paths. One student, Danny Torres Jr., told me it was the first real opportunity he'd ever had. He was 21, had aged out of foster care at 18, with nowhere to go and no marketable skills beyond minimum wage retail jobs that led nowhere. "Mr. Rivers," he said to me one afternoon in April while we were reviewing route optimization software. "This place literally saved my life. I was sleeping in my car 6 months ago, working 3 part-time jobs just to eat. Now I got an apartment, a career, and a future I can actually plan for. That moment right there, that's what the inheritance was really for, not revenge fantasies or legal victories. This, giving someone like Danny a real chance at building something meaningful. I'd also started seeing someone new, though I was taking it very slowly this time. Her name was Lisa Walsh, no relation to Sophia's lawyer, a veterinary technician I met when I brought in a stray cat I'd found on my property. She was 36, divorced with a teenage son, and refreshingly direct about what she wanted from life. She knew about the inheritance, the divorce, the whole situation. I'd been completely honest from our first coffee date because I never wanted to go through deception again. "I'm not looking for someone to help me spend money," I told her. "I'm looking for someone who would have been interested in me when I was living paycheck to paycheck in a studio apartment that smelled like Thai food." Lisa smiled at that. "Good, because I'm not impressed by bank accounts. I'm impressed by people who know how to build things that matter and treat people with respect." I liked her more every day. In late May 2025, something unexpected arrived in my mailbox. A plain white envelope, no return address, postmarked from Colorado Springs. Inside was a greeting card with a mountain landscape on the front. No signature, just 4 words written in handwriting I recognized. "You planned this perfectly.